Chapter 2492. Listen to my orders, haha good, laughed Icefire, glancing at the crowd and cackling gleefully. He said to the crowd, "From now on, everybody must obey me. I am the new king of the continent of the 9 clouds. Only one system will exist now in the continent of the 9 clouds." How ambitious! He wants one system in the continent of the 9 clouds. He wants all the shrines to submit and become his subjects. He wants to be the only ruler of the continent of the 9 clouds, thought the Thunder Shrine leader. The 2 leaders had made great efforts for such a long time, all for this moment. The members of the Fire Shrine Alliance didn't dare go against the will of Icefire. Now he wanted to make the members of the Fortune Shrine Alliance submit too. Icefire slowly turned to Lin Feng and the others, and said coldly, "Apart from Lin Feng and the members of the Fortune Shrine, you others can submit, and I won't kill you." He was definitely going to kill Lin Feng, who had a forbidden body, as a god couldn't let Lin Feng live. The Fire Shrine leader was one of the oldest shrine's leaders. He had heard about the battle of the ancient past, and before the god of the Fortune Shrine had died, he had left a prophecy. If someone with a forbidden body appeared someday, they'd have the potential to become a god, so no shrine would let him live. However, what if the forbidden person died? Then who would become the god? Lin Feng, Yin and Yang are the source of the 5 elements. The power of Yin and Yang Qi is almighty. He's already stronger than a peerless saint. We must think of a solution to escape, the old ox said to Lin Feng telepathically. Lin Feng's heart twitched, but he said calmly, "If anyone wants to surrender and pay allegiance to him, I won't blame them." Bullshit. That thing is not even a human anymore. I would never surrender and pay allegiance to him. I prefer battling to death, said the Earth Shrine leader coldly. Icefire smiled sinisterly and said, "Wait for your destruction then." "Icefire," spoke up Zizhu suddenly. Icefire glanced at him. "The world is not as simple as you think. Do you think you have no enemies anymore, just because you understand Yin and Yang Qi? Do you think you can do anything?" said Zizhu calmly. Icefire glared at him and replied, "I'd love to see who can compete with me. If I lose this battle, no matter what you guys do, I won't blame you. And if you don't want to serve him as his subject, then leave while I'm fighting," said Lin Feng. He rose up in the air and retreated as fast as he could, disappearing and reappearing far away in the horizon. "Where are you going?" asked Icefire, smiling coldly. He wanted to kill Lin Feng. How could he let him escape? The crowd quickly realized Lin Feng was trying to buy time to protect the others. "Let's go," shouted Zizhu. They left. Nobody dared stop them. After all, if Icefire wasn't there, Lin Feng's team would have been stronger. Lin Feng and Icefire suddenly appeared high up in the sky. Lin Feng said coldly, "Time stands still." Time stopped, and he threw himself at Icefire. However, his enemy's Yin and Yang Qi surged, modifying space around him. All sorts of strengths were inside his energies. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. An incredible amount of cursing Qi turned into a river and flowed out. At the same time, his god Qi turned into dazzling rulers' godly imprints, descending from the sky and oppressing everything. Icefire smiled coldly. His Qi was also a noble king Qi. He acknowledged that the forbidden strength was incredible. No wonder peerless saints couldn't withstand a single attack. The forbidden person was truly incredibly strong. However, he had practiced Yin and Yang Qi, and he was stronger than peerless saints as well. His Yin and Yang Qi attack collided with Lin Feng's ruler's godly imprints. The Yin and Yang Qi exploded, turning into 2 threads of energies moving left and right. They morphed into dragon heads containing millions of different kinds of strengths. The ruler's godly imprints gradually broke apart, and the Yin and Yang Qi continued moving forwards. "Slow," said Lin Feng. He retreated quickly, grimacing. "You've become so strong, that's quite rare. However, you will die today, it's your destiny," declared Icefire arrogantly. Ice energy froze the space around them. He used the Great Celestial Seal and fused it together with Yin and Yang Qi. Icefire flickered. He moved as fast as lightning and charged at Lin Feng. A strange kind of strength emerged around his body. After that, Icefire had the impression he was being taken to another world, a misty world. Icefire didn't understand. Splendid. The forbidden body has a world. I really want to absorb you and turn my body into a forbidden body. Icefire had practiced for so many years. Both leaders had practiced that set of skills for countless centuries. They had gone through so many hardships. Lin Feng had been talented since birth. He was jealous, and he wanted to kill Lin Feng. Die! An incredible amount of cursing strength turned into an earth-shattering ocean, roaring as it hurtled towards Icefire. Lin Feng was even stronger in his own world. Yin and Yang Qi are the most original source of energies in the world, even in your world, shouted Icefire furiously. He gazed at the incoming ocean, and ice and fire dragons emerged from his body. At the same time, he continued moving toward Lin Feng, and threw his fist at him. Lin Feng released Ruler's godly imprints to collide with him. However, Icefire suddenly turned around and threw his fist out behind him. There was a tremendous rumble, and the whole world around them shook, on the verge of collapse. Many of the people living there sensed something abnormal was happening. Lin Feng, your illusion technique is powerful, but with my current strength, you can't do much against me. I understand now because when our fists collided a moment before, your real body turned into an empty space illusion. You probably fused illusion and empty space original strengths together to create that attack. When people are fighting against you, they don't notice it because they're never prepared well enough against such a fusion of attacks, said Icefire. One of his eyes was filled with Yang energy, and the other one with Yin energy. They could absorb all sorts of strength. You're strong here, but today, I will destroy your world, shouted Icefire, spitting out the strength of the earth and sky. An incredible amount of energy struck the fabric of the world with soul-quaking thunder. Lin Feng was furious, releasing Time's strength to move faster. At the same time, he also released Time's strength to slow down his enemy. His god sword appeared in his left hand as he moved as fast as lightning. He looked like a fearless god, not caring about anything anymore. This battle was too important. His body started to burn with power. Lin Feng released a peerless strength, the true power of a forbidden person. Icefire's Yin and Yang Qi swirled into a celestial curtain, which could destroy anything. Both cultivators' attacks collided, and at that moment, Lin Feng disappeared. The whole world shook violently. Many people raised their heads and looked at the sky, not understanding what was going on. Were gods fighting? A hole appeared in the sky, and Lin Feng coughed up blood. Each time the world shook, his body shuddered. He was injured. However, he continued fighting this crazy battle. Icefire could see Lin Feng's images everywhere in the sky. He was shocked, as his own robe had blood stains on it now. His heart shook, realizing Lin Feng had gone berserk, and was terrifyingly strong. Lin Feng released cursing strength to corrode away Icefire's life. Icefire wasn't badly injured yet, but Lin Feng was going insane, so he had to use his full strength. He had to create the best Yin and Yang attack he could to protect himself. That time's strength was still influencing his speed. Otherwise, Lin Feng wouldn't have been able to pose a threat to him. On top of that, in this world, Lin Feng's strength was multiplied. Die, 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 shouted a voice. The whole world shuddered. People in the palace of Shui were nervous, as they looked at the sky. There was only one possibility. Lin Feng, the god of the world, was fighting against someone, and his enemy was extremely strong. Thunder crashed, and Qi descended from the sky. The ground was shaking non-stop, and many buildings came crashing down. Finally, some people heard someone shout, "Piss off!" and the world began to calm down. In the outside world, Icefire had been driven out of Lin Feng's world, and Lin Feng had disappeared. He grunted angrily, his face pale. He looked at his chest, where there was a huge wound with blood dripping down, death and cursing strength infecting it. It was incredible. The strength of the forbidden body was still corroding him. He pulled a long face and looked around coldly. Lin Feng, you're insane. Your injury is worse than mine. We'll see how long you can hold on. My Yin and Yang Qi is corroding your world and your body. You'll die sooner or later. Obey me, surrender and pay allegiance to me. Everybody, search the continent of the 9 clouds, and look for Lin Feng's traces, shouted Icefire angrily. The members of the fire shrine were shaking. Icefire hadn't managed to kill Lin Feng, and he had managed to escape. How strong! However, Icefire had still defeated him and forced Lin Feng to flee. Chapter 2493. The new situation of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Icefire had appeared in the world, defeated Lin Feng, and all the shrines had acknowledged allegiance to him. It shook the entire continent. Lin Feng and his allies had lost the decisive battle. Icefire had won. The Fire Shrine and Ice and Snow Shrine leaders had fused together after studying Yin and Yang. The very next day, Icefire proclaimed himself king of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Even the supreme animal world was afraid. The Rock Clan and the Dragon Clan had also participated in the decisive battle. If Lin Feng hadn't fought against Icefire, many people wouldn't have been able to escape and would have died. However, Icefire still terrified most people in the continent of the Nine Clouds. The news that the Fortune Shrine had disappeared spread everywhere in the continent. They were now in hiding. Everybody understood that they had no choice. With the insane supreme cultivator Icefire in the world, people couldn't do anything, since the Fortune Shrine wasn't willing to submit. On the 5th day, the Earth Shrine and the Celestial Sound Shrine leaders went to the Fire Shrine to acknowledge allegiance to Icefire. On the 6th day, the news that Icefire had taken back control of the Fire Shrine spread in the continent of the Nine Clouds. He wanted to make the Fire Shrine the strongest shrine in the world. On the 7th day, the influential groups of the continent of the Nine Clouds chased the World Clan's members and captured a Peerless saint, joining hands and killing him. However, everybody knew that Icefire wanted to kill Lin Feng above all else, and he gave everybody the order to capture people who were related to Lin Feng to force him out. He was ready to do anything regardless of the price. At the same time, people were fighting everywhere in the continent of the Nine Clouds. The shrines had ceased to exist except in name, but their members continued fighting. The influential groups also started fighting to conquer territories and become stronger. Icefire didn't care about such minor events. He just wanted to be the strongest cultivator in the world. Nobody dared attack his people. People didn't know about the battles in the ancient past, but they knew about the battle, which had propelled Icefire to the rank of strongest cultivator in the continent of the Nine Clouds. The king of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Icefire was wildly ambitious. He also wanted the Buddha Shrine, the Demon Shrine, and the Life Shrine to submit and pay allegiance to him. They couldn't go against his will. He created the Supreme Shrine and built a Supreme Shrine Palace. He organized a ceremony on a flight of stairs with 1,000 steps. He stood at the very top and looked down at the crowd and the shrine leaders among them. I am not the king of the continent of the Nine Clouds. That's the destiny of the continent. I will become a real god, shouted Icefire grandly. He was in a good mood. People shouted back, "Congratulations, Supreme Cultivator Icefire." "No need to be polite," said Icefire, waving his hands and smiling. He frowned suddenly and shouted furiously, "Why isn't the Demon Shrine leader here?" People frowned. The Demon Shrine leader wasn't there? Icefire was at the apex of his power. Nobody could resist him. Someone slowly flew up in the air. He was wearing a demon robe. He looked at Icefire and said slowly, "Today, the Demon Shrine leader officially paid respects to his master. At the same time, he invites everybody to come and congratulate him. Everybody is here, so everybody can go. Supreme Cultivator Icefire, you can also go if you wish." "Insolent," shouted someone furiously. However, that person's expression didn't change. Icefire frowned. "I think the Demon Shrine leader's behavior is strange. Whom could he acknowledge allegiance to apart from me? I'm curious to see who can still compete with me in the continent of the Nine Clouds." "Bring those people here first," said Icefire coldly. 2 people were brought over. Those people were from the Divine Wrath Shrine. One of them was Zizhu. "Today, I'll kill you first, and then I'll go to the Demon Shrine personally," said Icefire glancing at Zizhu. Zizhu turned to Icefire, looking fearless. He said icily, "Will you dare kill me? Do you know who my teacher is?" When the crowd heard Zizhu, their faces changed, looking amused. Zizhu was a member of the Divine Wrath Shrine, formerly part of the 3 Great Alliances, and used to be the leader of the Black Bamboo Alliance. He had a teacher. How strong was his teacher? "Who?" asked Icefire unimpressed. Master Icefire, you really think you're the king of the continent of the 9 clouds? You're really funny, said Zizhu, equally unmoved. These years, all the shrines ruled over the continent of the 9 clouds. But have you all forgotten about Sealed Imprint Mountain in the Lost Country? Feng Emo, the supreme cultivator, the crowd murmured. Sealed Imprint Mountain had incredibly strong cultivators. In the ancient past, few people knew how strong that guy really was. I'm Feng Mo's disciple Zizhu. If we needed a king of the continent of the 9 clouds, my teacher would have come out already. You are far from being able to compete with him. The only thing is that he didn't really care. Now, however, it is imminent. My teacher made me come out because a god may have to be chosen. He might come out too. You keep chasing Lin Feng. You want to kill the forbidden body. But did you know Teacher Feng Emo supports Lin Feng? He helped him become stronger. When he becomes strong enough, there will be the real decisive battle between them. You think you're qualified to compete with my teacher? Zizhu challenged him calmly. The crowd shivered. How strong was Feng Emo? I practiced the yin and yang godly transformation skill. How could your teacher compete with me? Icefire rebuked him proudly. My teacher can seal gods and demons. He controls the strength of the 10,000 things of creation. Nobody knows how many bodies my teacher has in the world. Do you really think all the strongest cultivators in the continent of the 9 clouds were the Peerless cultivators who participated? If I hadn't come out, who would have known about me? Zizhu huffed. Today, if I die, my teacher will destroy the supreme shrine. Icefire remained silent for a few seconds before answering. I won't kill you then. Since your teacher intends to show up in the world again, I'll wait for him. Send him back. Zizhu stayed alive, astonishing everyone. Nobody had thought that so many incredible things would happen. Lin Feng had risen. Icefire had appeared. The demon shrine leader had a new teacher. Feng Emo was going to come to the continent of the 9 clouds. The forbidden body had really attracted some incredible things. Icefire had become a conqueror too early. Nothing was decided. Icefire gazed into the distance. His eyes glittered, and he said detachedly, I'm going to the demon shrine. He flew away and disappeared, faster than the crowd could see. The crowd didn't leave with him, but they all still wondered what was going to happen in the demon shrine. The crowd waited for a long time. After several days, a lone figure descended from the sky, Icefire. He looked grim and detached as he smiled coldly. Seems like I won't be lonely on the path to becoming a god. He rolled up his sleeves and promptly left again. Everyone understood that the demon shrine leader's teacher was someone who could compete with Icefire. After 7 days, the demon shrine organized a banquet and invited everybody. People didn't dare offend him, so off they went. They all felt pressured, especially the shrine leaders. Despite their positions, they now were under pressure and felt powerless. They could just manage to get by swallowing insults and humiliations. All this was one of the reasons why they didn't want the forbidden person to live. The forbidden person hadn't become powerful enough yet. But Icefire and the demon shrine leader were already competing. 1 month later, Feng Emo from the Sealed Imprint Mountain of the Lost Country landed in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. He went straight to the supreme shrine and took Zizhu away. The continent of the 9 clouds was shaken once again. Now there were 3 potential kings in the continent of the 9 clouds. At the same time, everybody was looking for Lin Feng, especially Icefire. He had to kill Lin Feng, the forbidden person. The demon shrine was also looking for Lin Feng. Feng Emo also sent people to look for Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had completely disappeared. There were 2 people standing at the top of a mountain. One of them asked, Haven't you found him yet? I can't find him, he's completely disappeared. Can you contact him using the Jade Talisman? It's useless, no reply. His friends are optimistic. The one who had just spoken continued moving. Icefire was at the top of a flight of stairs as he asked coldly, Haven't you found him or his traces? Supreme Cultivator, there is nothing. Lin Feng is good at disguising himself. He can easily pretend he's someone else. Take your time. When we fought, I corroded his body with yin and yang qi. He probably can't recover easily. However, I won't feel assured until he dies, replied Icefire calmly. The man bowed and withdrew, walking backward. After a short time, the Life Shrine, which didn't get involved in worldly affairs, was destroyed because they had refused to submit. Their leader had been killed. Actually, many people felt extremely sad at this happening, to the extent that some people cried over their destruction. Time passed. Another century flowed by. At that moment, in a wild area of the continent of the Nine Clouds, a figure was suddenly surrounded by reincarnation strength and absorbed quickly. A handsome man appeared. It was Ho Ching Lin, now a peerless saint. People kept chasing him, one of which had just died. Icefire was pursuing him, and all the former members of the Fortune Shrine. At that moment, Ho Ching Lin looked surprised. He took out a jade talisman, and his eyes twinkled. He flew up in the air. Chapter 2494. Conspiracy. Lin Feng was still in the continent of the Nine Clouds, living in Fortune City in an ordinary thatched hut. He was in his own world right now. The sky was broken, and chi kept spilling into the star world, because Lin Feng's body was there. 100 years have passed, and I haven't recovered yet, Lin Feng sighed. A century ago, Icefire had broken his world and badly injured him. No matter what strength Lin Feng used, he couldn't fix it. It wasn't an external injury, because his world was a part of his body, like his vital organs. It was also why he almost never fought in his small world. That battle had damaged his world. Lin Feng had managed to injure Icefire too, but it was not an even exchange. Now Lin Feng was badly injured, probably no stronger than an ordinary peerless saint. All those years, he had first become strong in his own world, and then in the outside world. His strength came from there, it came from inside him. Lin Feng and the old ox were seated facing each other, in the pavilion in the sky. The old ox and the few bestial saints of the star world were the only ones who had come to see him in his world. Brother Ox, I've been trying to recover for 100 years, but I can't. Is this my destiny? Asked Lin Feng calmly. Even though he was badly injured, he still remained calm. It's a good opportunity for you. You're lucky. It was destroyed and now you can build it again and improve it. The old ox smiled. But yin and yang qi is truly powerful. You have a world inside of you. The sky is dark. The soil is yellow. You understand the strength of the 5 elements. You understand space strength, time strength. If you understood yin and yang strength, your world would be perfect. Yin and yang is the source of all strengths. Icefire understands yin and yang strength, so is he a real god? A cultivator of the Shun layer? Even though I don't know what the Shun layer is, I'm sure he isn't. Brother Ox, back in the days, you insinuated that the Shun layer and immortality were connected. Did you mean it? Back then my master told me that. Maybe it just referred to the act of transferring one's knowledge to an heir. I'm not sure. The old ox smiled. You're dispirited now. Great changes have occurred in the continent of the Nine Clouds. You should practice cultivation and keep calm. Just isolate yourself from the world. Many people are looking for you in the continent of the Nine Clouds. All right, Lin Feng nodded. He looked at his broken world and murmured, my path has always been different from the path of other people. Maybe making strengths fused together to create techniques is not the right path for me. I understand time strength, the 5 elements, space strength, and I can create anything, just like a real god. I think I should study yin and yang. That way, I could fix my world and improve it. It would become a real world, because it would have all the components necessary to create a normal world. You can think that way, but if you hadn't fused different sorts of strengths together, how could you have fought against peerless saints? The old ox cajoled him. Lin Feng nodded back. It seems like I still need to understand one sort of strength. Then I'll use the power of destiny, and then I'll be able to make things change, thought Lin Feng, raising his head and looking at the sky. His eyes were sharp. Even if he was going through hardships, he remained motivated. Father, Jitian spoke up at that moment. How's the situation in the continent of the Nine Clouds? Asked Lin Feng. The 3 kings still are at peace with one another. The other influential groups are all oppressed all the time. Regarding your friends, our enemies are still looking for them. But you told them to go to other worlds, so it's almost impossible to find them, replied Jitian calmly. Lin Feng nodded at him. Someone is here, said the old ox at that moment. Lin Feng left his world and opened his eyes in the outside world. A handsome man was standing there, but because he was wearing a mask, one couldn't see his face. Brother! Lin Feng greeted him with a smile. Ho Qing Lin smiled back. Lin Feng, I never thought you'd spend all your time in Fortune City. How brave! The most dangerous places are often the safest ones too, Lin Feng grinned. His smile stiffened as a terrifying qi filled the air. Many people appeared. Ho Qing Lin's face also paled. How is this possible? Ho Qing Lin was a peerless saint. If anyone had followed him, he would have noticed. Lin Feng go, said Ho Qing Lin, stepping in front of Lin Feng. Brother, Icefire will show up soon. We need to leave, said Lin Feng. How could we escape from them? Lin Feng, I'm your fellow disciple, listen to me, leave now, said Ho Qing Lin, turning his head back. I'll fight against them. You take Lin Feng away, the old ox said after appearing. Ho Qing Lin was surprised. Lin Feng nodded. Brother Ox is strong enough. All right, agreed Ho Qing Lin. His figure flickered and Lin Feng, Zhetian, and Ho Qing Lin left. They heard the old ox shout, time. Time became slower, and those who were chasing Lin Feng stopped moving. Ho Qing Lin and Zhetian took Lin Feng away. He said to Lin Feng, I am sure nobody chased me. How come they suddenly appeared? They anticipated, said Lin Feng. Ho Qing Lin was stunned and asked, You knew? So why didn't you do anything? I wanted to see if I was right or not. And I was right, explained Lin Feng. Ho Qing Lin was surprised at the reply. Some strong cultivators nearby released a powerful qi. I'll go, said Zhetian, reacting instantly. An ultimate weapon, the sky-destroying sword, appeared in his hand. Time freeze, said Zhetian. Time stopped. Ho Qing Lin was shocked. This little boy Zhetian also understands the same strength as his dad? How strong? He watched the sky-destroying sword descend from the sky and cut apart a peerless saint. You're lucky to. Your teacher was great, you are talented, you understand many kinds of strengths. How could you not become an extraordinary cultivator? Lin Feng grinned at him. No need to worry about my son's life. He's got a life-saving technique. Very well, Ho Qing Lin sighed. An old man was seated cross-legged in the ruins of the Fortune Shrine. The old man's clothes were ragged, but he looked clean. His eyes were closed, he looked calm and peaceful. A figure slowly appeared next to him. Leader, you're back, exclaimed the person who had just appeared. The old man who was seated was the Fortune Shrine leader. My teacher predicted that one disaster would happen to me. And surprisingly, he said that the disaster would be you. I felt puzzled. I didn't understand why you couldn't become a peerless saint until you stirred up trouble, when Lin Feng appeared. Now I understand, replied the Fortune Shrine leader calmly. Leader, you think a lot. I don't understand why you came back. Since my destiny was to face a disaster, why would I hide? You dedicated your life to the forbidden body. You took risks to make him grow. Why? In the continent of the 9 clouds, all living things have the same purpose, don't you think? Answered that person. But you could have taken his life under control. Why did you keep waiting? There were things I hadn't anticipated, that person sighed. All right, today I will use the strength you taught me to make you disappear. You should die content. A terrifying strength surrounded the Fortune Shrine leader. It was disaster celestial destiny strength. A few white lights flashed and the Fortune Shrine leader's body crackled. The man frowned and his face stiffened. Why don't you resist? The Fortune Shrine leader opened his eyes and smiled peacefully. I'm doomed. I want to die and become a martial god. His body exploded into light, and he vanished. His killer's face stiffened. Lin Feng suddenly stopped. He took out a talisman, which was now broken. He felt aggrieved. Back then, he had actually attacked the shrine leader. Brother, you go on ahead, Lin Feng said to Ho Qing Lin. Ho Qing Lin's face stiffened. Lin Feng, don't underestimate me, Ho Qing Lin smiled. How could he leave? All right, brother. Go to my world to practice cultivation. I need to see someone, Lin Feng finally agreed. Qi surrounded Ho Qing Lin, and he disappeared, reappearing in Lin Feng's world. Someone came shortly thereafter to Lin Feng. It was Saintly Emperor Shi the demon. Follow me, he told Lin Feng calmly. Where are we going? Asked Lin Feng. The supreme ancient pit of hell. We're going to wake the ancient demon king, who can defy the laws of the world and cause rivers of blood to flow in the continent of the 9 clouds. What if I'm not going? Said Lin Feng. You are me. I am you. We are the same person. If I go, you're going too, said saintly Emperor Shi the demon firmly. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't contradict the man. Give me 1 hour and I'll come with you, replied Lin Feng indifferently. Very well. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon nodded. Chapter 2495. Demon King Lin Feng found a place to sit down cross-legged and go to his own world. He opened his hands and looked at the broken jade talisman. He felt so sad. He had actually attacked the Fortune Shrine leader once. Instead of being angry, the Fortune Shrine leader had given something to him. His jade talisman. He had said to Lin Feng, "If I die, it means that the one who's always been deceiving you was the one who killed me. After my death, don't forget to refine the scepter of destiny." Back then, Lin Feng had kind of stopped having doubts about the Fortune Shrine leader. However, the one person he had decided to trust was the diviner. Therefore, this time, he had decided to have Ho Qing Lin come, purely to see if the diviner would cheat him or not. He had also done that to see whether saintly Emperor Shi the demon was really his image or not. If he was, he would know everything about him, and apparently he did. Lin Feng had already obtained some answers. The scepter of destiny appeared in Lin Feng's hands, and he scanned it with his powerful godly awareness. Something was broken inside. Lin Feng established a connection to the scepter of destiny and started refining it. After he managed to control it, some fluttering sounds spread in the air, and picture appeared in front of him. It was a shrine towering aloft. Within the shrine were 2 people, an old man and a young man. The old man's chi was weak. His figure was transparent, as if he was about to disappear. The young man was crying. "My son, it's my disaster technique, don't be sad." This time, during the battle against the Demon King, both sides suffered losses. I have 1 foot in the grave after I sealed the Demon King. He won't recover for a countless number of years. But I still have some ominous premonitions. I will check the secrets of the gods, it's the best time, whispered the weak old man. He could disappear at any time. Teacher, the members of the Fortune Shrine all believe in divination, and they all have premonitions. If you use the celestial premonition technique, your soul will disperse, protested the young man. He wanted to prevent the old man from doing so, but a curtain of light stopped him. The old man said, "I'm doomed. I can still use the premonition technique once. It doesn't matter." He closed his eyes and used the strength of the gods to peer into the future. Celestial strength condensed and turned into words. Celestial Tao Destiny Technique, Lin Feng observed with a shiver. Was this a coincidence? Celestial Tao words floated around the old man. Lin Feng was stared at them. The Sky Palace, what's the date tonight? Mountain of flowers and fruit. A cave with a waterfall at its mouth. Secret world cultivation strength. When the forbidden person appears, a god will appear. Nobody knows what awaits them. But who can't recognize a monarch? Lin Feng's heart was pounding violently. Those were the words Lin Feng had read in the Jade Emperor's palace. The exact same words. Lin Feng couldn't calm down. How incredible! Celestial Tao Destiny Technique. Was it really the Celestial Tao Destiny Technique? Was it a prophecy? Teacher, I don't understand what those words mean, the young man said softly, looking at the words floating around. Never mind. I didn't think that I wouldn't understand them myself. However, remember them. No matter what they mean, they have something to do with the forbidden person. Maybe in the future, a forbidden person will appear. Remember this, you might meet the forbidden person someday. Remember, sighed the old man, as he became even more transparent. Teacher, cried out the young man, his eyes red. This scepter is now yours. It contains destiny strength. You can use it to protect yourself. It has the strength of a half-god. The mysteries of heaven must not be revealed. If they are revealed, you will die. You're the only one who knows. And you must protect the forbidden person. The forbidden person is the dusk of all gods. This time, the forbidden person might become a god, and I will go to a god's grave. I have the impression that I have to go there for a reason. The old man turned into light and vanished. The young man was alone, staring blankly at the empty space. Teacher, I promise that if I face a disaster, I will sacrifice myself for the forbidden body, whispered the young man. When Lin Feng heard that, he felt himself tearing up. The young man was the Fortune Shrine leader. He had done what he had promised. The scepter of destiny contained a half-god's attack, but he had never used it, even to fight against the other shrines. He had given it to Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had had doubts about the Fortune Shrine leader, and had even attacked him. Lin Feng remembered how devastated and sad the Fortune Shrine leader looked. He hadn't even said anything. He had proved with his life that nobody else would learn the secrets of heaven. Leader, you should know that some people already know the secrets of heaven though. Lin Feng sighed. Who is Saintly Emperor Shi the demon? How could he know the secrets of heaven? Demon King, said Lin Feng. 100 years before, it was said that the demon shrine leader had a new teacher. Icefire had gone there, and had come back home with his tail between his legs. There was a mysterious being in the demon shrine. They had become one of the 3 influential groups of the continent of the 9 clouds. But Lin Feng still didn't understand. Even if the demon king had reincarnated and understood the secrets of heaven, why could he find him so easily? Why had Lin Feng met Yin Di? What did Limitless Sky Palace, what's the date tonight, mean? Why had he obtained the Jade Emperor's palace and read those words inside? Did the demon king have the same powers as the Fortune Shrine leader? Did he also have premonitions? Destiny's strength is enigmatic and unfathomable, groused Lin Feng. He gradually refined the scepter of destiny, easy to do since it had no master anymore. Very quickly, Lin Feng took control over it. A mysterious and special strength emerged. Lin Feng felt even sadder, and held the scepter of destiny firmly. The Demon King, I need to go and see him, thought Lin Feng, and he left his own world. Are you done? Saintly Emperor Shi the demon asked. Yes, let's go, he replied. The two of them rose up in the air. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon didn't take Lin Feng to the supreme ancient pit of hell. He took him to the demon shrine. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon took Lin Feng into the depths of the demon shrine. There were many demons there standing guard. They eventually arrived in front of a demon king's palace. The demon king was in the main hall, looking like an ancient king. Before I wake up, I want to ask some questions, may I? Go ahead, said Saintly Emperor Shi the demon. Who is Maradeva? Asked Lin Feng, staring at Saintly Emperor Shi the demon. His eyes looked sharp. He's me, Saintly Emperor Shi the demon answered. Lin Feng didn't really understand, but continued. Why didn't you immediately absorb me? Why did you waste so much time? Asked Lin Feng. The demon king was sound asleep, and he hoped the forbidden person would take the initiative to wake him up. That would have been perfect. The forbidden demon king would have awoken. That would have been the best. Therefore, you pretended to be me. Then you stirred up chaos in the continent of the 9 clouds. Then you tried to put me in dead ends the whole time. And then you showed up, and you hoped I'd take the initiative to wake the demon king up, Lin Feng conjectured. Unfortunately, you're progressing too quickly. It was unexpected. We had to cause lots of troubles. The demon king didn't even have a proper absorbing skill until Chu Chun Xiu showed up. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon replied emotionlessly. Chu Chun Xiu appeared in the hall. Chu Chun Xiu's chi was incredible. He was a peerless saint long ago, and he had absorbed many strong cultivators' power already. Chu Chun Xiu is King Chu's descendant. Back then, King Chu was a tiny little insect, but at least he created a sky-absorbing technique that wasn't bad. The Demon King used him and his knowledge to create a sky-absorbing technique, said Saintly Emperor Shi the demon calmly. Alright, you can die content now. If you take the initiative to wake him up, we won't kill your family members. If the Demon King has to use force, I guarantee you that after you die, all your family members and friends will die. One last thing. Didn't a forbidden body appear last time? If there wasn't one, why did the destiny wheel rotate? And how did you know all my movements? Said Lin Feng. You will know all those things when you wake up as the Demon King, replied Saintly Emperor Shi the demon calmly. Lin Feng nodded. He turned to look at the Demon King on the throne. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon turned into light and disappeared into the throne. His voice spoke to the two of them. Chu Chunqiu, the Demon King granted you a demon imprint. It must return to the Demon King now. Lin Feng, come and wake the Demon King up. Your friends and family members will always be safe. Lin Feng and Chu Chunqiu glanced at each other. Chu Chunqiu looked expressionless, his eyes filled with demon strength. Are you happy? Lin Feng didn't talk, and he didn't use telepathy either. He just stared at Chu Chunqiu and tried to communicate using his eyes. No, they managed to communicate with their eyes. The two cultivators walked up to the Demon King and stopped in front of him. The Demon King suddenly stretched out his hands and put them on their bodies. Suddenly, they both had the impression they were puppets under his control. Lin Feng, you still want to resist? You'll become one with the Demon King, said a voice which reverberated in Lin Feng's mind. Its purpose was to make Lin Feng give up, to absorb him into the Demon King's will. The turn of events greatly pleased saintly Emperor Shi the Demon. Gradually, their wills were fusing together, and the same was happening to Chu Chunqiu. He was also being absorbed. Can the Demon King resist the attack of a half-god? Asked Lin Feng. A terrifying amount of demon qi filled the air. At the same time, Lin Feng suddenly took out the scepter of destiny. Millions of destiny beam of lights appeared and attacked the Demon King's body. He tried to continue fusing together with Lin Feng. A mighty destructive strength emerged, but was destroyed by the destiny strength. Arg! The Demon King shouted furiously. Lin Feng had the impression his body was going to explode. Absorb! Shouted Chu Chunqiu furiously. An incredible absorbing strength surged out and swept everything away into itself. The Demon King's will was being absorbed. Chu Chunqiu, you dare betray the Demon King. That's part of my nature, I stand alone, retorted Chu Chunqiu, releasing a terrifying qi which absorbed everything in his way. You created such a terrifying sky-absorbing technique for yourself. The Demon King couldn't be attacked by surprise by Chu Chunqiu, but he had just been attacked by Lin Feng. And then Chu Chunqiu had attacked him while he was in a position of weakness. It was an opportunity for Chu Chunqiu to exploit. Chapter 2496, Millions of Changes Piss Off. The Demon King's will was being absorbed. He kept shouting furiously. The whole palace exploded and collapsed. The members of the Demon Shrine saw that and fled in terror. Chu Chunqiu and Lin Feng came out of the explosion. Lin Feng was still holding the scepter of destiny. The Demon King was still seated on his throne. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon appeared, an indistinct spirit. She dashed to the skies. He was using the strength of the Demon King. Die! People heard the loud shout. The sound wave rolled out, and 18 demons appeared. Their qi was flaring with menace. At the same time, Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon waved his hand. Qi emerged and surged towards Lin Feng and Chu Chunqiu. Arg! Shouted Chu Chunqiu furiously. He raised his head to the sky, taking a deep breath. He looked free from inhibitions and crazily happy. What a powerful strength. I wouldn't have thought the Demon King could grant me such incredible power. No wonder you're so strong, even though you're just an image, shouted Chu Chunqiu, staring at the Demon King. Abruptly, he started running, not towards the Demon King, but towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly felt a dangerous absorbing strength draining his vitality and will. Chu Chunqiu wanted to absorb him. Time stand still, said Lin Feng coldly. Time stopped. But Chu Chunqiu was too determined. It was difficult to do anything against him. It was his nature to go against the laws of the world. It was how he had become a saint long ago. If he continued growing, he would just become another Demon King. Saintly Emperor Shi's qi was shaking. Lin Feng's half-god attack and Chu Chunqiu's sky-absorbing attack had weakened him. And even if he borrowed the strength of the Demon King, he was badly injured. If he hadn't been inside the Demon King's body, he would have died. Lin Feng turned into a beam of light, dashing to the skies. He was gone as fast as lightning. When time became normal again, Lin Feng was already extremely far away. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon was stunned. He hadn't known Lin Feng could do that. It was unexpected. The imperial court will be mine sooner or later, declared Chu Chunqiu coldly. He also flew up and left quickly. The demons wanted to chase him, but saintly Emperor Shi the demon gestured with his hand, and the demons vanished. Cough cough. He had come out of the demon king's body, and was injured now. He kept coughing up blood. Lin Feng, Chu Chun Xiu, you all want to die, swore saintly Emperor Shi the demon, gazing into the distance. A demon cloud churned all around him. After that, Lin Feng went into hiding again. He had completely disappeared from the continent of the 9 clouds. He knew many people were looking for him. Lin Feng wasn't the only one who disappeared. All the people who were related to Lin Feng disappeared. The 3 influential groups were looking for him, his friends and family members. However, they had all disappeared. Even Lin Feng's close friends in the lower world had disappeared. The continent of the 9 clouds was so big, it was easy to hide and live incognito. Lin Feng was walking in the mountains as if the outside world had nothing to do with him. 100 years had passed since he had left the demon shrine. He knew that he had to have a perfect inner world to fight again, or things would be too complicated. Icefire was in a palace in the Supreme Shrine, with many saints around him. Icefire was giving a lecture to many strong cultivators, including the shrine's leaders. A terrifying amount of chi began to whistle as it intruded on them. The ground shook violently as someone appeared. Everyone was shocked when they saw him. Lin Feng. Icefire smiled sinisterly. Since you're here, I will kill you. Icefire flew up and released yin and yang chi towards Lin Feng. The terrifying yin and yang chi contained all sorts of strengths. However, Lin Feng just shook his hands and opened his mouth. He absorbed the yin and yang chi with a loud cry. Space seemed to freeze, even as he flew away rapidly. You think you can escape? Snarled Icefire, streaking after him. Yin and yang chi converged in the sky. Lin Feng's face stiffened as he absorbed the yin and yang chi again. But he looked helpless as his body exploded. It wasn't his real body. Icefire was startled. It was one of Lin Feng's clones, and he had such incredible fighting abilities already. Icefire, from now on, every 3 days I will fight against you. Don't go too far from the Supreme Shrine, said a loud voice which made the earth and sky tremble. Icefire pulled a long face. There was nobody around. Where did that voice come from? And where was Lin Feng's real body? At that moment, Lin Feng's real body was really far away. He was seated cross-legged, and was also in his own world. He spat out some chi calmly, yin and yang chi. It floated around him. Lin Feng, your spell is matchless. You can steal yin and yang chi from so far away, and use it for your real body, said the old ox. He was amazed. That's the Celestial Dao Destiny technique, a real illusion space. If the 3 supreme cultivators and a few terrifying old monsters who are hiding weren't there, I could destroy the whole continent using just a clone, replied Lin Feng calmly. The yin and yang chi rose up and surprisingly, it could fix the sky. It's too slow. You need to understand yin and yang chi to truly fix the sky, said the old ox slowly. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, he still had to do that. After that, every 3 days Lin Feng attacked Icefire. Icefire was extremely annoyed. He decided to ignore him, but Lin Feng promptly killed one of his Peerless saints. So each time, he had to fight against Lin Feng. Time passed, and Icefire sensed something. If he continued like this, he wouldn't be able to continue practicing cultivation peacefully. He would also lose his will to improve. Many people who were looking for Lin Feng, and his family members and friends stopped doing so. They didn't dare offend Lin Feng anymore. Lin Feng's clones were already so strong. Each time he challenged Icefire, he showed how strong he was. He could kill anyone else easily. How strong would his body be if he personally showed up? Time passed and another 100 years went by. Many people were still looking for Lin Feng secretly. The Supreme Animal World was in a chaotic situation too. Icefire helped the Rock Clan fight against the Dragon Clan. So the Dragon Clan's members had no choice but to leave the Dragon Valley. Many groups suffered losses. At the same time, a new leader appeared in the Hell Shrine. They now called him Death. It was a genius who had appeared in the continent of the 9 clouds many years before. Mo Zheng. He had created some incredible skills and techniques. Now he wanted to show how strong he was in the continent of the 9 clouds as well. Many people were amazed. So many people had already become stronger than the former shrine leaders, like Icefire and the others. Many people started calling them half-gods. Many battles continued happening in the continent of the Nine Clouds. However, many other people disappeared. It was said that they had been absorbed by the one who had betrayed the Fortune Shrine, Chu Chunqiu. People were scared. Many people missed the good old times when the continent of the Nine Clouds was peaceful, when there were the 9 shrines, when there was still a balance of power. Those were peaceful and fair times. Everything had changed now. Everybody was waiting, hoping someone would manage to create one system, and the continent of the Nine Clouds would calm down again. More time passed. Chu Chunqiu went to the Buddha shrine. He wanted to absorb their cultivators' wills, to become a supreme cultivator. However, all the Buddhist cultivators were strong. Kong Ming, who used to be a disciple of the Fortune Shrine, even showed up. He was half demon, half Buddha, and he defeated Chu Chunqiu. Kong Ming became extremely famous because of that battle. The very next day, it was said that Kong Ming became the new Buddha shrine leader. The previous one had decided to retire. The leaders of the shrines were slowly changing. New generations were taking over. People sighed. Kong Ming had become a great cultivator. It was said that in his previous life, he was an ancient Buddha, and then because of a woman, he had turned into a half-demon, half-Buddha. He had then created techniques to reincarnate, and had studied Buddhism again, then demon cultivation. He had managed to do something similar to what the 3 lives had done. It was said that the Buddha shrine leader had retired after Kong Ming understood all that, and Kong Ming had become the new leader. Chapter 2497. Final Battles, Part 1. The situation of the continent of the Nine Clouds became more and more interesting. Feng Mo, Icefire, and the Demon Shrine were the 3 overlords, the 3 ruling groups. Chu Chunqiu, Kong Ming, Mo Zheng, and some other geniuses were dazzling constantly. Only Lin Feng had disappeared. Icefire was waiting for Lin Feng's clone to come. As expected, his figure appeared in the sky. But this time Lin Feng didn't attack. He said to Icefire, "Icefire, I will come here with my real body in 3 months, and I will kill you." And then the clone left. Icefire was stunned. Then he smiled icily and swore, "In 3 months, the forbidden body will disappear from the world." Yin and Yang Qi suddenly rose up in the air. Lights flashed in the sky, and many people raised their heads at the unexpected phenomenon. A turning point due to the will of heaven. Icefire frowned. Would a god appear 3 months from now? "Ah!" shouted Icefire. He couldn't wait. Was he finally going to become a god? The news that godly lights had appeared in the sky quickly spread throughout the continent of the Nine Clouds, the supreme animal world, and many other places. Many people began to gather at the supreme shrine. In 3 months, the forbidden body would fight against Icefire. Would a god finally appear? The shrine leaders were all excited they could all become gods. That had always been their goal. However, they were oppressed these days, so how could they seize this chance? The continent of the Nine Clouds was seething with excitement. The supreme animal world's kings stopped fighting among themselves, and also came to the continent of the Nine Clouds. Even if they couldn't become gods, they at least wanted to see who would become one. Time passed. Only 7 days were left before the battle. A gigantic and lofty mountain peak descended from the sky and landed next to the supreme shrine. The celestial chi was thick and rich there, and a figure was standing at the top, like a proud hero. Zizhu and his other disciples were standing behind him. His identity had already been revealed. Feng Mo. Another 4 days passed. Only 3 days were left before the battle. Another mountain peak appeared and descended from the sky, this time a demon mountain. At the top was an imperial palace. The Peerless demon king was sleeping in there, and nobody dared disturb him. Finally, the last day arrived, and the supreme animal world's leaders all showed up. Kong Ming and Mo Zheng also showed up. Icefire was standing at the top of a flight of stairs. Many peerless saints gathered around him. It was an incredible sight, almost supernatural. At the feet of those lofty mountains and buildings, many people were watching from the ground. They knew that they couldn't participate, but they were still extremely excited. Nobody wanted to miss the birth of a god. A group of strong cultivators appeared in the distance. Their leader was wearing clean white clothes. He looked handsome, warm and kind and extremely noble, all at the same time. The forbidden body Lin Feng. He's here. Is it his real body this time? Everybody looked at Lin Feng. Nobody knew how strong he was, nobody could see it. Lin Feng didn't look at Feng Mo. And he didn't look at the demon court either. He only had eyes for ice fire. So many peerless saints. Lin Feng must have been protecting them. There's Ho Qinglin too, Lin Feng's fellow disciple. Who's the one in black? He looks so cold. And the young man there? He's holding the dazzling gold shrine's sky-destroying sword. When the crowd saw all this, they shivered. Lin Feng quickly arrived at the foot of the flight of stairs. It was extremely vast there on the main platform. He looked over at the crowd and swore grimly. Today, those who try to stop me will die. I attacked you using yin and yang back then. You probably haven't recovered yet, probed Icefire aloofly. Even if I haven't completely recovered, it doesn't matter. I'll kill you today, replied Lin Feng, releasing an incredible chi as he started walking forwards. Die, said Icefire coldly. The crowd was shocked and scared of Lin Feng. However, they were even more scared of Icefire. A strong wind started blowing, and the air began to whistle. Many people arrived. They were all Lin Feng's. Feng Mo's eyes twinkled knowingly. Lin Feng had created lots of clones. Time stand still, said Lin Feng. Time stopped. And Ho Qinglin and the others who held Peerless Saints' weapons came closer at the same time. The crowd frowned. Lin Feng could make time stop for certain people only. That meant Icefire wouldn't be able to fight. Lin Feng didn't even glance at anyone else. He just walked towards Icefire. Yin and Yang Qi surrounded Lin Feng, moving as fast as lightning. The Yin and Yang Qi turned into a hurricane and oppressed Lin Feng. Time! Lin Feng accelerated, and so did all his clones. They all released Time's strength at the same time. His clones all attacked at the same time. Their combined attack was magnificent. The hurricane of Yin and Yang energies shattered instantly. Not bad. Icefire smiled coldly. Yin and Yang Qi blotted out the sky. The sky became dark, and the Yin and Yang energies turned into millstones. The crowd on the ground felt they were going to die. Seal, said one of the clones. The Yin and Yang hurricane started freezing, but the Yin and Yang energies broke through. Lin Feng's real body flew up. He looked like a god as he released his ruler's godly imprints. The Yin and Yang attack crackled against them. Empty space fissures, said one of the clones. Celestial earth canyons, said another, attacking the Yin and Yang energy. Thunder rumbled, and the Yin and Yang attack finally broke apart. Icefire smiled coldly and said, Since that's your real body, I'll destroy it first. A vortex of supreme Yin and Yang energies appeared and broke all kinds of strengths around, swirling into a long dragon and racing towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng faced Icefire fearlessly. The earth and sky kept shaking unceasingly, as if the world had been on the verge of collapse. There were some explosions in the world about them, and the shrine beneath them exploded and collapsed under the strain. Yin and Yang are the whole world die. An overwhelming amount of Yin and Yang Qi whelmed towards Lin Feng. A vortex containing absorbing strength appeared all around Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled broadly. Thank you very much. Lin Feng was bombarded, while a deadly ruler's godly imprints attack appeared from a different location. Icefire suddenly turned around and threw out his fist. Yin and Yang strength could destroy the 10,000 things of creation. Real body illusion, the crowd hissed. They were trembling at the sight. Lin Feng could create illusions of his real body. How incredible! Even when you're sure it's the real one, it's not. Lin Feng's comprehension is incredible. Nobody has better comprehensive abilities, admitted Kong Ming softly. Nobody could tell which one was really Lin Feng's body anymore. Another body absorbed Yin and Yang Qi before he broke apart. His real body continued changing. The crowd realized that Lin Feng was absorbing the Yin and Yang Qi on purpose. Icefire also realized that, but he had no choice. He had to continue fighting. He had to kill Lin Feng. One of Lin Feng's best bodies exploded with a boom. Icefire was astonished as he glanced around, but there was nothing. He couldn't see Lin Feng's real body. There were just clones all around. Lin Feng, shouted Icefire, the earth and sky shaking at his anger. Yin and yang qi floated around him wildly. Icefire was astonished when he saw a hand in the distance. It was coming towards him, and there was a figure in a distant illusory world which appeared indistinctly. His real body hadn't arrived yet. It was an illusion the whole time. The crowd saw Yin and yang qi rolling around him, rotating quickly. Lin Feng had fought against Icefire a lot to study Yin and yang qi. How crazy! How much longer do you need? Asked a voice from the sky. Lin Feng replied, I'm almost done. Just a little bit longer. Die! Shouted Icefire furiously. His Yin and yang qi turned into a hurricane, raging and sweeping out to drive everything before it. The illusion trembled, corroded by the Yin and yang qi. There was finally a rumble and explosions as the space collapsed, and Lin Feng appeared. The Yin and yang qi turned into a vortex and howled towards him, distorting the space. At that moment, someone came out of the demon shrine imperial court. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon charged at Lin Feng. He had done all he could in the past to make Lin Feng wake the demon king up, spending so much time trying to fuse Lin Feng together with the demon king. Lin Feng had said he'd come back when he was stronger, but he had never returned. He knew Lin Feng never would, so he had tried to force Lin Feng to do it, but he had failed again. Now he couldn't afford to fail anymore. Chu Chunxiu appeared and charged at Lin Feng as well. However, he heard a Buddhist chant, and Kong Ming appeared in front of him. He released his Buddha's halo, and many Sakyamuni appeared. At the same time, Mo Zheng also moved, flashing over in front of saintly Emperor Shi the demon. The demon emperor is finally going to fight today, murmured Mo Zheng the demoniac punisher. His tone of speech was exactly the same as Lin Feng's, which astonished saintly Emperor Shi the demon. The two of them released a terrifying demon strength. Waves of energies surged around them with apocalyptic force. Saintly Emperor Shi the demon threw out his fist, containing a dreadful amount of demon qi. At the same time, Mo Zheng also attacked, ancient imprints streaking across the sky. Lin Feng's ancient imprints were ruler's godly imprints. Mo Zheng's ancient imprints were destructive demon imprints. The two attacks collided. Death's strength turned into a hurricane, and everything exploded all around them. Chapter 2498. Final Battles, Part 2. Lin Feng's world had long recovered. Yin and yang qi surged out in all directions. His whole world was trembling. A figure of his appeared in his world. His world was already perfected. From now on, time in my world will pass at the same pace as time in the outside world. Lin Feng released an immortal strength, filling everywhere in his own world. Boom boom boom. A terrifying strength made the earth and sky shake. Lin Feng's figure smiled. The earth and sky in his world aligned perfectly with the outside world. He could control all living things, the 10,000 things of creation. He was its god. In the outside world, Yin and yang qi tore and roved. Lin Feng's heart twitched as he disappeared. Icefire's attack crashed onto Lin Feng's body. A dozen beams of light appeared and ripped through Icefire's Yin and yang qi. Icefire looked as if he hadn't felt anything. He just wanted Lin Feng to fight. In the distance, Feng Emo looked totally composed as he looked on. He didn't need to get involved. Lin Feng was either going to die or not. No matter what, Lin Feng wasn't going to become a god. Of course, Icefire wasn't going to become a god, either. Icefire had the impression that his Yin and Yang Qi was crashing into an extremely hard stone. Lin Feng didn't move. His god's lights flashed and floated around him. After that, Lin Feng opened his eyes, lights emerging from them. Icefire's heart skipped a beat. It's over, said Lin Feng calmly. He released his ruler's godly imprints once. They descended from the sky. They really look like a god's imprints now. Icefire shouted desperately as his body gradually vanished beneath them. I don't want to die, howled Icefire. But it made no difference as his body disappeared. Lin Feng glanced around. Nobody dared say anything. However, the fighting had to continue. Lin Feng looked over at the Rock King in the distance. The Rock King cried out in surprise, before turning to flee at his top speed. Where are you going? Shouted Lin Feng coldly. A gigantic hand moved towards the Rock King and grabbed him. Lin Feng had changed. His perceptions had changed. He was even stronger than when he had fought against Icefire a moment before. He was actually closer to becoming a god, a spiritual being. God break. Lin Feng was holding the Rock King in his hand and closed it. The Rock King suffered atrociously as he was crushed. Lin Feng, the forbidden person, was terrifying. Feng Emma watched from the top of the mountain. The sun was shining upon him. He smiled when he saw that the forbidden body was finally strong enough. Stop the battles now, Feng Emma stated, uncaring, yet dignified and majestic. All the fighting stopped rather quickly. A new person descended from the sky. It was the godly weapon master. Ha, finally. Someone is going to become a god. I can't wait to see who, exclaimed the godly weapon master with a smile. Everybody stop the fighting. Let's have some really good ones now. Chu Chun Xiu and Kong Ming, Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and Mo Zheng, the old ox and Jitian, who were fighting against Peerless cultivators. Everyone stopped. I'd like to ask something first, Lin Feng said calmly. He looked at Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon and said, Demon Emperor, I don't want to call you Demon King. I prefer calling you Demon Emperor. You chased me for a while, you cheated me for a long time. That was all a conspiracy. However, I still don't understand who made you do that, and why you were able to follow me. You know the Celestial Tao Destiny technique, right? The Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon inquired. I know it. If I didn't know the Celestial Tao Destiny technique, I wouldn't have been able to absorb the yin and yang qi of ice fire. I wouldn't have been able to know that my teacher was with you either, said Lin Feng calmly. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon looked at Lin Feng and said, Since you also practiced it, you know how powerful it is. Apart from you and the Fortune Shrine leader, only 3 people practiced the Celestial Tao Destiny technique. My teacher must be here, said Lin Feng. A figure descended from the sky and landed in the imperial court of the Demon Shrine. The diviner. You followed the shrine leader for so many years. The shrine leader also studied the destiny technique. Surprisingly, he couldn't see through your real intentions. You must have mastered the technique better than anyone else in the world. Who organized all that? Asked Lin Feng. Do you know who he is? Asked Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon calmly. Lin Feng looked nervous and replied, The ancient Demon King. Back in the days, during the godly battles, the Demon King was sleeping soundly. However, many years after, he gradually recovered and turned into Maradeva to come back to life and join the Fortune Shrine. He studied the destiny technique and mastered it. Then he used it to have visions and predict the future. He spied on the Fortune Shrine, and it was easy for him to learn the prophecies. He went back into the Demon King's sleeping body and created a special kind of strength to create me. It also allowed me to follow the trail of the forbidden person. You know what happened after that? The destiny wheel was even deceived. It really believed what had happened. The Demon King created a godly strength even the Fortune Shrine didn't understand. It was all a plot. To a certain extent, I am really an image of you. Initially, I wanted you to come to the supreme ancient pit of hell and fuse together with the Demon King. After that, the Demon King and the forbidden body would have made one, and the Demon King would have become a god. That was 100% certainty. But it was a failure, so the only solution was to absorb you and destroy you. It seems like the shrines were right. There was no forbidden body 1,000 years ago. No wonder they couldn't find any. No wonder you spent so many years for your conspiracy. If I had willingly fused together with the Demon King, he would have become a god and nobody would have been able to ruin his plan, murmured Lin Feng. He suddenly understood everything. But why did you pretend so well? Lin Feng asked the diviner. I was born for that purpose, replied the diviner calmly. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, it was his sole purpose in life. Today a god is going to appear. I will resuscitate, stated the diviner. He turned into a star and returned to the Demon King's body. He was a thread of consciousness of the Demon King, so he could make him come back to life temporarily. Chu Chun Xiu, back then in the supreme ancient pit of hell, you should have died. I granted you demon strength. I transmitted you the strength of the Demon King, and you betrayed me. Let's fuse together now. Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon said to Chu Chun Xiu calmly. The Demon King slowly stood up on his throne. He looked like a demon from the ancient past. Chu Chun Xiu looked at Lin Feng and then at Feng Mo. He couldn't do anything against them. At least, I could become a god if I fused together with him, he thought. He merged into the Demon King's body, and demon strength rose in billowing waves of power as he did. Come back! An incredible strength arose from Feng Mo's body. Many figures flickered, speeding through the air before they also merged into Feng Mo's body. There were a great number of them. My demon and Buddhist cultivations are both at the highest level. How could I not become a god today? Said Feng Mo. Kong Ming's body started trembling. How is this possible? Said Kong Ming in his magnificent Brahma's voice. No need to struggle. I have many bodies. You just practiced for 2 lives, and you achieved supreme enlightenment. When you succeeded, you became my godly embryo. Feng Mo said calmly. Kong Ming was drawn helplessly into his body. Buddhist mantras spread in the air around, and everybody shivered. Kong Ming, who had replaced the Buddha shrine leader, was one of Feng Mo's bodies, his godly embryo. Let's fight, said Feng Mo. The ground shook violently. The earth and sky seemed ready to collapse. The old ox shouted quickly, "Let's go!" as he left hastily. These 3 people were already too terrifying. Lin Feng didn't have time to be stunned because of Kong Ming. Feng Mo's voice made him shake. It contained sealing strength and Buddhist strength, shaking his very soul. It was terrifying. This battle would be a supreme battle. Lin Feng and Mo Zheng's bodies fused together. An incredible qi rose around him, and a throne appeared in the sky. Lin Feng immediately sat down on it. The Demon King was there, his hair fluttering in the wind. All 3 people were terrifying. 2 gigantic feet appeared in the sky, driving down towards Feng Mo and Lin Feng. Feng Mo grunted coldly. Time stopped. He also had the ability to make time stop. He had lived for many years and controlled all sorts of strengths. He had studied so much precisely for this battle. He wanted to become a god. Lin Feng released ruler's godly imprints, and the gigantic foot was smashed. His ruler's godly imprints were now even more powerful. Lights appeared in the sky, a divine radiance. A god could appear at any time. One of these 3 people was going to become a god. Chapter 2499. Final Battles. Proclamation of a God. Lin Feng, be good to your teacher, said the diviner, smiling at Lin Feng gently. It was clearly the Demon King pretending to be the diviner. What a terrifying cultivator, thought Lin Feng. Demon strength penetrated into his mind. Lin Feng, a figure appeared in his mind. Lin Feng was astonished. General, Lu Tsonglan had appeared in front of him. Lin Feng. Someone else appeared in front of Lin Feng. This time it was Yin Yu Pingsheng. Teacher Yin Yu. Lin Feng saw many people appear in front of him. Protector Kong, Protector Bei. So many familiar faces. Lin Feng. The Fortune Shrine leader also appeared. Lin Feng felt so sad. Illusion, it's an illusion. Lin Feng tried to control himself. Suddenly, someone shouted, and all the figures turned into demons and attacked him. Piss off, shouted Lin Feng grimly. However, a terrifying strength bombarded his soul and will. How strong? He felt a bit scared. In the outside world, absorbing strength suddenly surrounded him, and Lin Feng's face stiffened. The world yin and yang, the 5 elements. I am a god, thought Lin Feng. He tried to keep true to himself. He didn't let the illusion influence him. He looked at the terrifying absorbing strength churning about him. He released ruler's godly imprints and destructive demon imprints, and they merged together. Thunder clashed and the ground quaked. Die! Shouted Feng Mo furiously. The ground was on the verge of collapse. Lin Feng raised his head and saw energies flowing, brimming with destruction. All sorts of celestial Tao energies descended from the sky. Feng Mo had been practicing cultivation for such a long time, and had lived so many lives. His attacks had reached the peak of perfection. At that moment, he didn't look friendly at all. He was intent on killing Lin Feng. Feng Mo was proud, a truly peerless cultivator. He didn't look friendly, like when Lin Feng was weak. He had waited for this moment, the battle to become a god. Time! Shouted Lin Feng. Time! Shouted Feng Mo at the same moment. Their time strengths collided. Lin Feng flew forwards, releasing an aggressive qi. He howled furiously, and suddenly disappeared. Seal! shouted Feng Emo coldly. His sealing attack could seal heaven and earth. However, Lin Feng was holding his god's sword. Feng Emo had helped him make it. You're using the sword I made for you to destroy my seals. Feng Emo smiled coldly. A mighty god's strength penetrated into the sword, and it turned into an assassin's sword, breaking the seal. Lin Feng appeared in front of Feng Emo and shouted furiously. Millions of demons penetrated into Feng Mo's body, also containing cursing strength. Emo Zheng had studied all those strengths for him. Feng Mo's body was attacked harshly. However, Feng Emo released Buddhist lights, which purified away the demon strength. Lin Feng released godly and destructive imprints, throwing his fist at his opponent. The crowd saw a river of chaotic energies behind his fist. It was as if they could destroy everything as they accelerated, getting ready to erupt. Feng Emo stared at Lin Feng. No wonder that was called the Forbidden Body. Being so strong should have been forbidden. How imbalanced. Absolute ancient destruction, shouted Feng Emo coldly. He had studied time strength. He could use many ancient attacks. His entire body turned into a gigantic mountain, his blood boiling and turning into rivers, his eyes turning into stars. He threw his fist out at Lin Feng. He really looked like a spiritual being at that moment. Boom. Gigantic craters appeared around Feng Emo. Some people were struck by the fallout energies and exploded, all of them dying instantly. The Demon King had turned into Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon again. He was the Demon King, an ancient and heroic demon. I am the king of this world, said Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon coldly. He attacked, his energies shooting toward Lin Feng and Feng Emo. I am the god, it is my destiny, shouted the diviner, releasing destiny strength towards Lin Feng and Feng Emo. The destiny strength was deadly, and almost impossible to block. Nothing is going to change. I am destined to become a god or ruler, rebuked Lin Feng. He turned around and looked at the diviner, releasing time strength, and moving even faster. He threw out his fist, and both attacks collided. But more strength was moving towards the diviner. He was going crazy as he defended. Even if you're a demon king, I can defy the laws of the world. Chu Chunxio's face suddenly appeared. He was struggling to break free from the control of the demon king. Die, said Lin Feng, releasing 9 indestructible godly imprints. Thunderous impacts followed, and the demon king's body was smashed away, shaking him. The demon king groaned with pain. The diviner's face appeared again. Chu Chunxio, you want to die with me? He hadn't thought Chu Chunxio's will would be so terrifying, still defying the laws of the world. Even if the demon king had absorbed him, Chu Chunxio could still struggle. I don't want to follow the laws of nature. If I have to, then I don't mind dying. Chu Chunxio's face reappeared. Qi surged up around him. Lin Feng turned his attention to Feng Emo and said, "Continue fighting." Chu Chunxio, piss off, shouted Saintly Emperor Shi the Demon, his face reappearing as he took control of the body again. However, Lin Feng and Feng Emo ignored him and continued fighting. Lin Feng, you became incredibly strong. However, I won't lose. It is the last step for me. Today, I will become a god. Feng Emo said solemnly. His body swelled in size, and he turned into a giant. He shook his hands and godly marks appeared all around him, before shooting towards Lin Feng. Suddenly, Feng Mo's demon strength was constricting Lin Feng. Die, said Feng Emo. He was using his full strength now, releasing even more energies. Back in the days he had seen gods battle. Now a spot was free, he couldn't miss this opportunity. Lin Feng was still standing there in the sky, looking like a peerless demon god, dignified and majestic. He had a forbidden body. He was a god in his own world. Who could be better than him to become a god? He condensed his strength and shouted furiously. Soundwave strength made the space tremble. He also released god and destructive strengths, which turned into rulers and demon imprints containing all sorts of strengths. He destroyed Feng Mo's attack and both of them collided, shaking the space around them. Lin Feng was thrown back, yet still looked aggressive and brutal. Feng Emo watched Lin Feng coldly. He didn't believe that Lin Feng could defeat someone like him, who had practiced cultivation for so long. Transformation of the 3 lives into the 10,000 things of creation, shouted Feng Emo coldly. All his clones appeared, astonishing everyone. That's Dharmadeva, the supreme cultivator. He's the supreme cultivator of nature. Many people who were extremely old were shocked to their cores when they saw some figures. All those people were the 3 Lives Emperor. They were all Feng Mo. How many of his clones had become peerless saints? Lin Feng took a deep breath. He suddenly moved like the wind and turned into an illusion. Many people appeared around him, all of them Lin Feng's clones. All of them merged into his body. The crowd was astonished again. Just how many clones had Lin Feng created in the last few hundreds of years? Last attack. If I fail, it means I am not qualified to become a god, said Feng Mo solemnly. Lin Feng nodded. If I fail, I, the forbidden person, am not qualified to be called a god or a ruler, replied Lin Feng calmly. He was focused, his thoughts were pure. He was true to himself. Feng Mo's clones all started forwards. The air began to scream as their strengths began to rise. Die! Shouted Feng Mo furiously. His clones all moved at the speed of light, using time's strength to accelerate. It was an explosive and intense attack beyond what anyone there had ever seen. In response, Lin Feng suddenly closed his eyes, condensing world strength in his body. The attacks rained down on him ceaselessly. Lin Feng had the impression he was carrying the whole world on his shoulders, as if his body were slowly being crushed, piece by piece. However, he was standing there and condensing Forbidden Ruler's strength. Die! Shouted Feng Mo, aiming at Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng just looked on. It was as if everything had stopped around him. Nothing is going to change. I am destined to become the god, the ruler, shouted Lin Feng furiously. His Forbidden Ruler's strength cut out in all directions. Space and time ripped and tore. The clones exploded one after another. Lin Feng charged at Feng Mo and threw his fist at him. Thunder exploded, and Feng Mo was smashed away. Lin Feng coughed a few times, blood coming up. Feng Mo and his clones had turned into one again. He raised his head, knowing he had lost. He wouldn't become a god. Never mind. From now, I will have a natural and unrestrained life, said Feng Mo smiled as he gave up. At that moment, magnificent lights suddenly descended from the sky and illuminated him. Feng Mo was astonished as he was suddenly surrounded by divine lights. He stretched out his hand, as if he could control the space. Shen Layer. Feng Mo burst out into laughter. He looked up at the sky and smiled. I see, I was too obsessive. Feng Mo has become a god. The crowd was astonished. Lin Feng had defeated Feng Mo, but Feng Mo had become a god. At that moment, the Demon King was roused and released a new and terrifying strength. Who stole my control? Demanded an ancient voice. Chu Chun Xiu, the diviner, and saintly Emperor Shi's faces disappeared. Finally, I resuscitated. The diviner and saintly Emperor Shi, the demon's faces appeared, smiling. They had made a mistake due to a strange combination of circumstances. Yet in the end, the Demon King had come back to life. His face changed several times before stopping. His face was Maradeva, the diviner's face, not Chu Chun Xiu, and not saintly Emperor Shi the demon. However, their traits were still visible. I'm a god, said the Demon King, looking at the sky. Divine lights also surrounded his body. He looked at Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, I never thought that I would become a god even if I didn't fuse with you. The prophecy was true. When the forbidden body appears, gods appear. Unfortunately, you didn't become one. Actually, I would love to recruit you as a disciple, but you must die, the Demon King said to Lin Feng calmly. Lin Feng pulled a long face. Suddenly he felt hopeless. Was this really the end? Why? All right, it's over now, said Maradeva, landing in front of Lin Feng. He threw his hand out at Lin Feng. Lin Feng used as much strength as he could to protect himself. But it didn't work. His opponent's hand still went through. He was so weak in front of a god. You, Feng Mo was stupefied. The Demon King looked at him and said, You just became a god. You want to fight against me? Feng Mo was speechless. He realized that gods were not almighty. Dad, Lin Feng. On the ground, the old ox Jitian, Ho Ching Lin, they were all shouting. What was happening? How was this possible? Piss off, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He released a terrifying strength and closed his eyes. He was actually hopeless. The world in his body trembled and started breaking apart. Was he so weak? Lin Feng. Lin Feng inspected his world with his godly awareness. He saw people who were panic-stricken, devastated, afraid. He saw his parents. He saw those close ones who were just emperors. They could all sense that Lin Feng was going to die. Lin Feng. Meng Qing was crying. She was desperate. She tried to smile and said, "If you die, I'll die with you." "Me too," said Yu Yu, raising her head. Lin Feng saw many people he loved. Qiu Yu Xan, Duan Xanyi, they were all there, and Mr. Hua, Mr. Qi, they all looked desperate. "I understand," said a voice in the sky suddenly. Meng Qing and the others were stunned. Lin Feng appeared in the sky. He smiled and said, "No wonder my world is so weak. Something is missing. A real world is a world with feelings." Emotions were also part of the sources of life, an integral part of life. People weren't people if they didn't have feelings. And there were no feelings in his world. His world trembled and changed. He had thought it was perfect before, and now it truly was. The shaking faded away slowly. In the outside world, the Demon King looked at Lin Feng in shock. "You're going to die and you're smiling. Lin Feng, if you reincarnate, I hope you'll become my disciple in your next life. I owe you for this one." However, Lin Feng smiled and said, "I don't care about becoming a god. I'm already a ruler. It's the same as a god, or a spiritual being. They're all the same." Lin Feng threw his hand out at the Demon King's arm, and cut it off instantly. Blood gushed out. The Demon King was astonished. How was this possible? Feng Yemo was stupefied too. He looked at Lin Feng meaningfully and said, "The forbidden body appeared. It is the dusk of gods." The legends were true. Lin Feng looked at the Demon King indifferently. "Go now forever." Then he punched the Demon King. His fists contained all sorts of strengths. The Demon King's body exploded and vanished. The new god couldn't withstand a single attack. Everything seemed to stop at that moment. "Lin Feng, congratulations." After a long time, Feng Emo smiled and congratulated Lin Feng. He was happy for him. "You should call him master," said a voice coming from the sky. More people appeared. Lin Feng recognized one of them. "Mr. Time." Lin Feng smiled. Feng Emo nodded and said, "I will remember that. I should call him master." "Brother Feng Emo, just call me Brother Lin Feng." Lin Feng smiled. Strength was all that mattered in the cultivation world, not age. Feng Emo didn't need to call him master. They were like brothers now, because they had a similar level. Ha ha ha, finally 2 new friends. "Lin Feng, I forgot to tell you. I also have a forbidden body," said Mr. Time. Lin Feng was astounded. "Mr. Time, are you the leader of the Time Shrine?" "Kind of. But the Time Shrine is too powerful. It doesn't need to exist in this world. It's doing just fine in Ganji's time." "Lin Feng, this is the god of light. And this is the cursing god." They were bored, so I called them up to tag along. "Feng Emo can be the demon sealer god. And what would you like to be called?" said Mr. Time smiling. "We can't have the same name, so I don't know. Ruler god." "What about Peerless?" Mr. Time smiled. Everybody chuckled. "It's just a name, it doesn't matter," agreed Lin Feng. He didn't really care that much. "That's true. Lin Feng, I'm off, don't scare people. Jitian Qiongsheng, are you coming with me?" "We're not coming, teacher," said Jitian, shaking his head and smiling. All right. Little Yi, come with me." Feng Yemo became a god. "When are you going to become one?" asked Mr. Time, glancing at the godly weapon master. He looked so young, especially as he scratched his head and smiled fatuously. The inhabitants of the continent of the 9 clouds were astonished. But the godly weapon master did look extremely young. "Brother Feng Yemo, release Kong Ming," Lin Feng asked calmly. "Very well," Feng Yemo agreed. He released Kong Ming, who looked back at him calmly. "You've been practicing cultivation alone for an entire life. Lin Feng wanted me to release you, go back to the Buddha shrine." "Very well," Kong Ming replied. Then he nodded at Lin Feng to thank him, and left without hurry. "Lin Feng, my daughter is still in the sealed imprint mountain. When will you bring her out?" Feng Yemo asked him. Lin Feng smiled, looking embarrassed. "Brother Feng Yemo, I have things to do. I'm off." Chapter 2500. The continent of the nine clouds returned to calm in but one night. The supreme shrine was dismantled. The empty space shrine didn't exist anymore and would never return. The demon shrine was dismantled. The supreme animal world's rock clan didn't dare come back. The life shrine returned to life. The divine wrath shrine prospered. Where the fortune shrine used to be, a new fortune shrine returned, and a passage to Lin Feng's world was created. They were both the fortune shrine. People from inside could go there as they wished, but people from outside needed authorization. At the top of a mountain in the fortune shrine, there was a destiny gate. There were many people there, all of them incredible cultivators, peerless saints. Those people were from the earth shrine, the celestial sound shrine, the former empty space shrine, the fire shrine, and the ice and snow shrine. They all came to apologize, trembling with fear and trepidation. Someone from the fortune shrine came out to them. Everybody can go back. The ruler said so. The celestial sound shrine and the earth shrine were forced to submit and pledge allegiance to ice fire back then. He didn't take it to heart. Focus on expanding your shrines. Thank you very much, said the two leaders. They looked hugely relieved. Yet even though that person said Lin Feng forgave them, they didn't feel safe, because Lin Feng hadn't said anything to them directly. The others, you can leave. The ruler has no time to talk to you, said that person, waving them. The others left, but they didn't feel safe at all. Lin Feng might still intend to settle accounts at some point. One thing was sure, they wouldn't defend the fortune shrine again. Another day, a group of people came to the fortune shrine gate and waited outside. The leader of the group was an old woman. She had brought along many people. She said politely to the guards, "Guards, we would like to see Zhetian and inform you of something." "What's your name?" said the two guards indifferently. People came every day. They didn't let anyone go in easily. "We're from the Snow Clan." "I'm also from Zhetian and his mother's family," the old woman continued. "Oh, back in the days you dared despise the ruler. Go now. Master Zhetian has no time to see you," said one of them, waving her off. Nobody knew what Lin Feng was doing these days. The Snow Clan's members were really funny trying this, and rather ridiculous. "My friend, a beautiful woman with a king-type body was born in the Snow Clan. She's very talented, and we want to introduce her to Zhetian." The old woman smiled. She waved her skinny arm, and a woman appeared behind her. "Her name is Enran. Can you help us or not?" asked the old woman, begging the guards. The two guards glanced at one another. That woman looked good indeed. But would Master Zhetian like her? "I'll help you introduce her to Master Zhetian." "You go back though," said one of the guards. All right. The old woman assented quickly. She said goodbye to and ran quickly and left. They didn't feel good, but they hoped Zhetian had forgiven them. There was at least a little bit of hope. Lin Feng wasn't in his own world. He had appeared in the holy city. He was looking at Tiantai, restored there and towering aloft. It continued to recruit disciples. They all smiled. Tiantai was prosperous once again, and nobody dared attack Tiantai thanks to him. In front of Tiantai's gate, Yun Qingyan and Huang Fulong were talking to people who were queuing to inquire about Tiantai's recruitment process, all wanting to join Tiantai. "Don't worry, one by one, but only the most talented ones can join Tiantai." "Hehe. Master Huang Fulong, do you know where Lin Feng the ruler is?" asked someone at that moment. "Of course. Do you know who I am? I am Lin Feng's fellow disciple. We traveled together. Back in the days, we were in Tianqi. I even won against him," said Huang Fulong, laughing loudly. Lin Feng was speechless. "That guy is shameless," said Wuxia, standing next to Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, when will you go to Champion University?" Ancestor Zhetian asked politely. "I won't go back to Champion University. Take this, accept it as a sign of gratitude. There are a few weapons, skills, and techniques inside," said Lin Feng, giving a ring to Ancestor Zhetian. Ancestor Zhetian was surprised. The other ancestors looked at him in admiration. Ancestor Zhetian would choose some first, of course. "Teachers, are you really not going to my world?" Lin Feng asked Mu Chun and Emperor Yu. "Nah. Back in the days, we dreamt of going to the holy city to create Tiantai there. Now we're here, it's good. When Tiantai becomes strong enough, I'll travel the great world, and I'll also come to your world. Mu Chen smiled. He never thought his disciple would ever become a god. He couldn't even imagine it now. All right, I'll spend a few more days with you then, said Lin Feng smiled. Tiantai was already at the top of the holy city. Many disciples from the continent of the 9 clouds would come to study here. Sword Mountain. Emperor Wu Tianjian was seated cross-legged, but suddenly opened his eyes. They looked sharp as swords. Who are you? Challenged Emperor Wu Tianjian sharply. Master Wu Tian. I trust you have been doing well since we last met, said Lin Feng, descending from the sky. Emperor Wu Tianjian smiled and said, Lin Feng, you came back. You're doing good, I see, Lin Feng answered. And now you're a saint, I feel relieved. Haha, you're far ahead though. I can't even see your cultivation level anymore. Come and have a seat. Emperor Wu Tianjian smiled. Lin Feng sat down next to Wu Tian. Back then, I was under pressure. Many extremely strong influential groups came here. I also had problems with the everlasting Great Emperor's palace, so I had no choice but to become stronger. Wu Tian smiled. Everlasting Great Emperor's palace. Lin Feng was surprised, but then he smiled slyly and asked, But you solved the issue? Yes, I solved the issue, said Wu Tian smiled back grimly. Tell me, what is your current cultivation level? Mine. Lin Feng grinned. Let's go out and take a walk. A strong wind started blowing, and Wu Tian had the impression he had fainted. They suddenly appeared in the sky above a city. There was a competition going on below. Goldfire Tower, Goldfire City, a weapon fabrication competition. Wu Tian felt dizzy. He looked at Lin Feng. He had the impression he was dreaming. You. Wu Tian didn't understand. What was the cultivation level that could move so far, so fast? Master, you're a saint. It will be difficult for you to progress now. Come to the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds when you have time. Where should I go to find you? Asked Wu Tian. Fortune City. Just ask people where you can find Lin Feng. Lin Feng grinned. Wu Tian nodded. Lin Feng was at the very least a saint. Look, Saint Emperor Duanmu and Mu Lin Shui. They came back for the competition. Lin Feng saw familiar faces. Mu Lin Shui, Duanmu Qingying. Mu Lin Shui got married to a genius. Her husband is now a celestial emperor. He courted her for 500 years, and she finally agreed to get married to him. I've heard Duanmu say she was waiting for someone, but she waited for a very long time, said Wu Tian. Lin Feng just smiled. At that moment, Duanmu sensed someone watching him. He raised his head and saw Lin Feng's face. His heart skipped a beat. They saw us, let's go down. Wu Tian and Lin Feng descended from the sky. At the same time, Duanmu rose up in the air and bowed before Lin Feng respectfully. Duanmu greets the ruler. Ruler? Wu Tian was astonished. Just what was Lin Feng's cultivation level? Master Duanmu, don't be so polite, Lin Feng smiled. Ruler, don't call me master, said Duanmu. He had cold sweats. Lin Feng was now a god. All right, brother Duanmu, said Lin Feng, feeling a little helpless. At that moment, Mu Lin Shui flew up to face Lin Feng. She had tears in her eyes. She looked at Lin Feng, who had made a weapon together with her in the past. He was so cruel though, leaving her behind. You bastard. Mu Lin Shui said to Lin Feng. Lin Shui, don't be insolent, said Duanmu. Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, Brother Duanmu, it's all right. Then he smiled at Mu Lin Shui and told her, You're safe and sound, I am relieved. Mu Lin Shui just stared at him. Lin Feng knew he couldn't stay for too long and said, Brother Duanmu, if you have time, come to the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds to see me. Lin Shui, I wish you the best. Wu Tian and Lin Feng disappeared. Mu Lin Shui burst into tears. Her husband arrived next to her and sighed. He knew she had always loved Lin Feng and would never forget him. Lin Feng went to Yaoyi Island. He inspected the area with his godly awareness and saw Hu Yu and Xin Yu. Lin Feng noticed that Hu Yu and Xin Yu were together now. When he saw that, he was extremely happy. He dropped a ring, which fell from the sky and landed in front of Xin Yu and Hu Yu, startling both of them. Hu Yu took it and called out, Whose ring is this? After there was no answer, she put her godly awareness inside and shivered. She flew up and shouted furiously, Lin Feng, you little brat. Show yourself. Master Shen Yu, Sister Hu Yu, if you have time, come to the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. Mr. Xiao is there too. Lin Feng's voice called back to them, but he didn't appear. Hu Yu and Shen Yu gazed into the distance. Shen Yu finally smiled and said, that little boy surprisingly didn't come down. I'll settle accounts with him, said Hu Yu. By then, Lin Feng was already in Qingdi Mountain. Back then the 9 great celestial castles were there. These days that territory belonged to Tiantai. Now, Tiantai was prosperous. Lin Feng inspected the area with his godly awareness. Very quickly, he was startled to see some people he knew. Surprisingly, she came to Tiantai. Lin Feng's heart twitched. Hua Yin. She had left Dragon Mountain trying to find him. She had found Tianqi. Then she had left Tianqi because she had heard about Tiantai. 1,000 years had passed, and she still missed him. She had beautiful long hair. She looked out of the window and whispered, I've heard that there was a Tiantai there too. I wonder if he's there. When she thought about that, she smiled, but she cried at the same time. She had been waiting for 1,000 years, been lonely for 1,000 years. She had practiced cultivation really hard for 1,000 years. She hadn't allowed herself to look old. She wanted to stay beautiful for him. But she didn't know where he was. She heard someone sigh. She suddenly turned around and there he was. She was astonished, and she burst into tears. 1,000 years, you're so silly. Lin Feng walked up to her and took her in his arms. Hua Yin shivered. She had never felt so happy in her life. How painful 1,000 years of pain. At that moment, she finally felt happy, and she couldn't stop crying uncontrollably. In the sky, Lin Feng was there too, also smiling. Then he slowly flew away. In an ancient tribe in the desert, Mu Yin was still there, still beautiful. She was an emperor, and people considered her as a holy woman. They all loved her, as she was their doctor. Many men had courted her. However, she had chosen to stay alone. Nothing had changed, and she had never left the tribe. Mu Yin finished healing people, and she sat down next to a tree. She looked nostalgic. At that moment, someone brought a chair over to her and sat down next to Mu Yin. She turned her head and looked at him. She didn't want to stay away from him ever again. Mu Yin had been in the tribe for 1,000 years. She had never left even for one day. On that day, she finally left with a young man. Nobody blamed her. They just hoped she'd have a happy life. Lin Feng arrived in the small world. Jiang ruled over Ba Huang. However, the celestial place of the alchemists had an incredibly strong celestial alchemist. Even Jiang didn't dare offend her, as she was extremely strong. Some people said she was a great emperor. Some people said she had become even stronger. Lin Feng arrived in Tianjing, where Tiantai used to be. He stayed there for a long time and remembered. Then he went to Tianqi and saw his teachers. The Snow Zun cultivator, the Fire Zun cultivator, Jian Fengzi who was with Tianqi Shui. They were all very happy. Lin Feng also went to Dragon Mountain. He went to Yu Yu's family and took them with him. Lin Feng went to the former site of Shuiyu, then to the Duanren border and Duanren city. Lin Feng went to the Yunhai sect, remembering Protector Kong and Protector Bei, and Nangong Ling. And he went to see Yangzhou city. In Jiuyu, he went to a snowy land. There was a small hut there. Outside of the small hut, there was a beautiful woman, lying there calmly looking up at the sky. She had given up her dream of becoming the ice and snow goddess, and her life as a celestial being. She had come to that snowy land, and had lived there alone for 1,000 years. On that day, a young man walked on the snow, footprints appearing behind him. He arrived in front of the hut, and laid down on the snow next to her. They both looked calm. The beautiful woman turned her head slowly, and looked at the young man. Tears appeared in her eyes, fell onto the snow, and made it melt. Some people came to Fortune City. One of them was holding a gourd, wanting to see Lin Feng. Some people also came with him. A young man and woman who had a 10-year-old daughter. Who are you? What do you want to do here? Asked the guards. I am Lin Feng's brother. Tell him to come out, said the young man, taking a swig. You really want to die? said the guard, suddenly releasing a powerful chi. The guard was a low-level saint. The young man was annoyed and moved back. I am really Lin Feng's friend. Tell him that Yun Fei Yang is here. The girl looked at him and said, You're lying, my father is Lin Feng's brother. Lin Feng is my uncle. The young man's eyes twinkled. It had been difficult to find Lin Feng. They really wanted to see him. I've seen many people like you. Go now, said the guard coldly. I need to inform my brother myself then, said Lin Wuxiang, smiling wryly. He took out a jade talisman, but the guard ignored him. In the Shuiyu Palace, a banquet was going on. Everybody was having a party. Everybody was chatting and laughing. There were many people there. Lin Feng Lin Hai, Yu Menghe Lin Wuxiang, Ying Yu Menghe Tang Yu Lu Fei Duan Xian Yi, Qiu Yu Xian Mu Chun, Emperor Yu, Ho Qing Lin, Ruoxia, Tian Qi Junemo Shi Lang Yi, Yin Fei Yang, Huang Fulong Xiao Wu Tian. Many people were all together. They were all having fun. Lin Feng talked about the past, about Protector Kong. He remembered Yin Yu Ping Sheng. He remembered the Fortune Shrine leader. He was wondering whether he would be able to go back in time someday. To be continued. Thank you everyone for your support throughout this project. It's thanks to everyone that we achieved this goal. But it's not quite over yet. PMG2 coming soon. Underscore 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 red. Bowing and closing the door. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.